Hello students, this is Shachi. Welcome to my channel Crack Chemistry. Today's topic solid state part 3rd is for class 12, in which we will learn about classification of crystalline solids. Students, before starting, I want to remind you to subscribe my channel for getting information about further important uploads, and press the like button if you like this video, and share this video with your friends also. So now come with me and let's crack chemistry. So our topic is classification of crystalline solids. Students, in our previous videos we have discussed that solids can be classified as crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Crystalline solids are those solids which have well-defined arrangement of constituent particles throughout. They are said to have long-range order. On the other hand, amorphous solids are those solids which don't have a well-defined arrangement of constituent particles throughout. They are said to have short-range order. In today's session, we will learn about classification of crystalline solids. Children, most of the solid substances which you see around you are crystalline in nature. And these crystalline substances may be metallic elements like tin, iron, etc. Or they may be non-metallic elements like sulfur, phosphorus, etc. Or they may be compounds like sodium chloride, zinc sulfide, etc. So we can conclude that the crystalline substances which you see around you, they may be metallic, they may be non-metallic, or they may be in the form of compounds. So we will discuss the classification of these crystalline solids. Children, there are various ways by which crystalline solids can be further classified. But here we will discuss classification of crystalline solids on the basis of intermolecular forces which hold the constituent particles. So what are these intermolecular forces which operate between constituent particles? We will discuss. So what are these forces? These forces may be van der Waals forces. You have learnt in detail about van der Waals forces in class 11. These forces may be ionic bonds, or they may be covalent bonds, or they may be metallic bonds. So on the basis of presence of these 4 different type of forces, there exist 4 different type of crystalline solids. Molecular solids are further classified as polar molecular solids, non-polar molecular solids, and hydrogen bonded molecular solids. And those crystalline solids in which constituent particles are held together by ionic bonds are called as ionic solids. And those crystalline solids in which constituent particles are held together by covalent bond are called as covalent solids or network solids. In the last, those crystalline solids in which constituent particles are held together by metallic bonds are called as metallic solids. So we have seen that on the basis of nature of intermolecular forces which operate between constituent particles, crystalline solids are further classified as molecular solids, ionic solids, covalent or network solids, and metallic solids. So we will discuss these different type of solids in detail. So first category is of molecular solids. As we have discussed that molecular solids are those solids in which the constituent particles are molecules, and they are further classified as non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids, and hydrogen bonded molecular solids. So we will start a discussion with molecular solids. Molecular solids are those solids in which the constituent particles are held together by Molecular solids are those solids in which constituent particles are held together by van der Waals forces or dispersion forces. So what are the constituent particles in molecular solids? Molecules are the constituent particles in molecular solids. Again, On the basis of nature of these molecules, molecular solids are further classified into three categories, which are non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids, and hydrogen bonded molecular solids. First, we will learn about non-polar molecular solids. Non-polar molecular solids, as the name indicates, consists of molecules which are non-polar in nature. They consist of either atoms like argon, helium, etc., or the molecules which are formed by non-polar covalent bonds, for example H2Cl2, I2, etc. In these non-polar molecular solids, the constituent particles, which may be atoms or molecules, are held together by weak dispersion forces or London forces. As the forces operating between the constituent particles are not very strong, these solids are soft. And as they are non-polar in nature, they are non-conductors of electricity. So these solids are soft and non-conductors of electricity. And as they are soft solids, their melting points are low. And they usually exist in liquid or gaseous state at room temperature. So this is everything we have learned about non-polar molecular solids. Now the second category is the polar molecular solids. Polar molecular solids, as the name indicates, it consists of those substances where the molecules are formed by polar covalent bonds. The example may be HCl, SO2, etc. Molecules in such solids are held together by relatively stronger dipole-dipole interactions. So because of the presence of dipole-dipole interactions, they are polar in nature. These solids are soft and non-conductors of electricity. If we compare the melting points of these polar molecular solids with the non-polar molecular solids, we will find that their melting points are higher than those of non-polar molecular solids. And most of these are gases or liquid under room temperature and pressure. Examples are solid SO2, solid NH3, etc. The third category of molecular solids are hydrogen bonded molecular solids. Hydrogen bonded molecular solids are those solids which consist of hydrogen bonds. Children, you have studied about hydrogen bonds in detail in class 11. So hydrogen bond is a special type of polar covalent bond. Those solids in which the molecules consist of special type of polar covalent bond, which is called as hydrogen bond, are called as hydrogen bonded molecular solids. And you know from your previous studies that hydrogen bonds operate between hydrogen and oxygen, fluorine or nitrogen. Example of such category is the ice, whose composition is H2O. And these solids are also non-conductors of electricity. Generally, they are volatile liquids or soft solids under room temperature and pressure. Now we will learn about the second type of solids, which are ionic solids. Children, as the name indicates, ionic solids are those solids in which the constituent particles are ions. These ions are held together by strong coulombic forces of attraction or electrostatic forces of attraction in a three-dimensional way. And these solids are hard and brittle in nature, as the intermolecular forces operating between these opposite charged ions are very strong. So that's why ionic solids have high melting and boiling points. And as in the solid state, the ions are held together by strong forces of attraction. Ions are not free to move about. That's why they don't conduct electricity in the solid state. They are electrical insulators in the solid state. But in molten state or in aqueous solution, the ions are free to move. So that's why ionic solids conduct electricity in molten state or in aqueous solution. Till now, we have learnt about two categories of solids, which were molecular solids. In molecular solids, we have seen that they were further classified into three more categories, which were non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids, and hydrogen bonded molecular solids. After that, we have learnt about ionic solids. Third category is metallic solids. Children, metallic solids consist of metals In metals, the constituent particles are held together by a very strong bond which is called as metallic bond. So I'll explain you how this metallic bond formation takes place. Children, you know that metals have a tendency to lose electrons. They lose one or more electrons and they form positive ion, which is called as kernel. And these positive ions are surrounded by a number of mobile electrons, or we can say that positive ions are dipped in a sea of mobile electrons, and these mobile electrons are evenly spread out throughout the crystal, and each metal atom contributes one or more electrons towards this sea of mobile electrons. Children, you know that metals have high electrical and thermal conductivity. So what is the reason for high electrical and thermal conductivity of metals? On applying an electric field, these free electrons start flowing, making metals a good electrical conductor. Similarly, when heat is applied to one portion of metal, the thermal energy is uniformly transferred throughout by the free electrons. So this is the cause of good thermal conductivity of metals. I hope it is clear to you. Another important characteristics of metals is their luster, and some of the metals show specific color. What is the reason for this specific property? Metals show luster and color because of the presence of free electrons. Another property is that metals are highly malleable and ductile in nature. This is all we have learnt about third type of solids, which were metallic solids. Now we will learn about the last category, which is covalent or network solids. Children, this category of crystalline solids consists of nonmetals whose atoms are held together by strong covalent bonds throughout the crystal. They are also called as giant molecules. They are also called as network solids. As the covalent bonds are strong and directional in nature, therefore, the atoms in these solids are held very strongly at their positions. As the forces which operate between atoms of these nonmetals are very strong, such solids are very hard and brittle. Because of the presence of very strong forces which operate between atoms, these solids have extremely high melting points and may even decompose before their melting. They are insulators and they do not conduct electricity. Diamond and silicon carbide are typical examples of such solids. One very interesting example I would like to share with you. Although graphite belongs to this category, but it is a soft solid and it is conductor of electricity. So what is the reason why graphite is showing these exceptional properties? These exceptional properties of graphite are due to its typical structure. This is the structure of graphite, in which each carbon atom is sp2 hybridized. You can see here it consists of layers of hexagons, and in these layers each carbon atom is covalently bonded to 3 other carbon atoms. The fourth electron is present between these layers and is free to move about. Because of the presence of this fourth electron, which is present between layers and is free to move about, graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Different layers can slide over one another. Because of this property, graphite acts as a good solid lubricant. In contrast to graphite, diamond is the hardest known natural substance. In case of diamond, each carbon atom is sp3 hybridized and is covalently bonded to 4 other carbon atoms, making it a very hard substance. In fact, diamond is the hardest known natural substance. I hope you understood different type of solids. Whatever I have explained you is given here in a tabular form. You can see that first category was molecular solids, which were further classified into 3 categories: non-polar, polar and hydrogen solids. Constituent particles are molecules here and all the properties are given here. Second was ionic solids, constituent particles were ions. Third was metallic solids. Constituent particles were positive ions which were dipped in a sea of mobile electrons, and the fourth category was covalent or network solids. Now we will discuss few NCERT problems. First problem is to classify the following solids in different categories based on the nature of intermolecular forces operating in them. First one is the potassium sulfate. So children, potassium sulfate, as you know, is made up of potassium ion and sulfate ion. So it is an ionic solid. Next one is tin. Tin is a metallic solid. Benzene is a molecular solid. It's a non-polar molecular solid. Urea is also a molecular solid. Ammonia is also a molecular solid. In fact, it is a hydrogen bonded molecular solid. Next is water. Water is also a molecular solid. In ice, we have discussed also that it consists of hydrogen bonds. So it is a hydrogen bonded molecular solid. Next is zinc sulfide. Zinc sulfide consists of zinc ion and sulfide ion. So it is an ionic solid. So graphite is an example of covalent or network solid. Rubidium, again it's a metallic solid. Argon is a molecular solid. And silicon carbide is a covalent solid. Next question is solid A is very hard electrical insulator in solid as well as in molten state and melts at extremely high temperature. What type of solid is it? Children, we have studied in very detail that covalent solids are very hard and they are electrical insulator as well. They are very hard because of the presence of very strong covalent bonds which are directional in nature. And the covalent solids are electrical insulator as well, and because of the presence of very strong bond, they melt at extremely high temperature. So your answer is covalent solids. Next question is, ionic solids conduct electricity in molten state but not in solid state. This point also we have discussed that in the case of ionic solids, in solid state the ions are not free to move about. As in solid state, ions are not free to move about. They don't conduct electricity in the solid state. But they conduct electricity in molten state or in aqueous solution as ions are free to move about. Next question. What type of solids are electrical conductors, malleable and ductile? Answer is metallic conductors, because you know that metals are malleable, they are ductile and they are electrical conductors as well. Conductivity of metals is due to the presence of free electrons. Children, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe my channel and press the like button if you like this video, and share this video with your friends also. Don't forget to watch the next part. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.